I have in front of me here a TV wall mounting bracket. Okay, so this can support TVs from 23 inches all the way up to 55 inches. So the key things to know about it is it supports a VESA standard from 75/75 all the way up to VESA 400 by 400. And the VESA standard is really about the hole spacing that's on the back of the TV and how the holes on the bracket here match that. And it's an international standard, and I'm going to actually give a little bit of detail how you check it on your TV later in the video. So basically, let's come along and we'll look at what comes, and I'll go a little bit through the assembly. This bracket as it is here is partially assembled, and I'll explain how and why in a few moments. So it comes in this outer box here, so it's pretty straightforward packaging, okay, nice and compact. We come along and we have a total of 4 plugs and 4 screws, which you can see here, along with washers, and they're used for, what we do is we come along, we drill, we mark out the profile of the bracket here on the wall, and what we do is we come along, drill the hole, insert the plugs, and use the screws and washers then for actually mounting the bracket onto the wall. What we have here then is spacers and a range of different size bolts here, which we would use for actually bolting this bracket, this part of it here, directly onto the back of a TV. Depending on the size of the holes that we're mounting into, the larger the TV, normally the larger the screw size. We have a range of different bolts that are here. And finally, we'll come to the point of the pre-assembly work I've done is, for normal TVs, we'll say, for most smaller TVs, we'll say up to about 37 or maybe even 39 inches, you can mount directly using, we'll say, a VESA 200 by 200. But larger TVs might have a VESA 400 standard. And what they've done is they've put on these extra extension bars to facilitate this. So what I'm going to do at this point is I'm just going to mention that we have 2 assembly tools that I have here at this point. I just have a 10mm spanner, and I also have a Phillips screwdriver. So let's just go through, we'll say, the flexibility that comes with this particular bracket, and also we'll talk about, I'll demonstrate how we add on these extension bars. So the first thing to note is, if we go to mount this on a wall, what we do is we'd mark out the 4 holes, which you can see here, and drill it into the wall. And when we mount it, it gives us a 180-degree rotation. So we can rotate the TV this way, all the way back out here. Okay, obviously somewhat limited by the size of the TV if it's tipping off the wall at that point. And it's called a dual arm simply because it's mounted in the center here as well. So it gives a flexibility on how we'll actually rotate it. In terms of how we'd actually add on the extension bars for large TVs, what we can see here is we have holes here and another hole here, and these are the ones I'm going to use in this particular setup. And what I would do is I would simply use a bolt from the front, and I would just come along and I'd slide it through this hole. I'll put another a washer, we'll say, behind here, and which I'm not going to do here in the thing. And we have just a nut here which I'd screw on, and there's actually a little plastic cap on these nuts here, and it just means that it's a self-locking nut. So when it's tightened in, you're feeding into the sort of fibre plastic, and what it'll do is it'll lock tightly onto the actual threading, okay? But obviously repeat it here. And suddenly then, in terms of being able to support a 200 by 200 maximum VESA spacing, we could do a 400 by 400. So from here all the way over to here. And I'm just going to take this off now for a moment. And what I'm going to do is I'm just going to actually bring a TV into focus here. And we can have a look at what I'm talking about when I mention the word VESA, okay? So what I have here with me is actually a 39-inch flat screen TV that we sell here. So I'll just put it up on the table. So if we come along now, and we had center to center here would be 200 between these holes, and these holes are mounted on the back of the TVs simply to allow brackets to be bolted onto them like this. The mount will be mounted on the wall. So if we've got up a ruler here and we check center to center, we'll see it'll be 200 millimeters. And if we check center to center on this particular axis, it'll be 200 millimeters as well. So with this particular one, what we do is we'll be using, we'll say, I wouldn't use the extension arms at all if I was mounting this TV. I'd simply come along and I'd use this and bolt it down, okay? Now, we'll say we came along and just say we're going for a larger TV, like a 55-inch. It's possible that the VESA holes would be here, but equally it's possible that we'd have larger VESA holes that'd be out here, a full 400 millimeters apart. So if you can imagine a hole here, another one there, and further down as well. And what we want to do then is we obviously, to give the maximum support and because of the way it's designed, what we want to do is have the bolts into the bracket out at that distance as well. So we'll then be using the extension bars on all four corners, and we'll be bolting it in, and we'll be using the outside, once again with washers locking into position. And we'll be using our Phillips screwdriver and our 10mm spanner to simply lock it into position in terms of the extension bars, and then we'll be putting the bolts directly through. So let's just come along here, and with this particular one, just say we were just using the 200 VESA standard, you can just see here that the holes would mount up exactly top and bottom. We wouldn't have the extension bars on at that point, we'll say, and with the outer ones we'd be using bolts to lock directly through. And these are the bolts that I have here. So, so that's a really important thing. People often email us and are asking us questions about the size of their TV and all the rest of it. It really all comes down to the VESA standard, because that will really decide how the bracket bolts onto your TV, okay? But the size of the TV guide that comes with the bracket is very accurate in terms of, you know, if it's within the range that we're mentioning here, it's there. Now, one other great feature on this particular bracket that I didn't show up to this point is simply the tilt angle on it. And what we can do here is there's a locking mechanism here, and we can loosen it off, and it allows us to tilt by 15 degrees up and down on it. So it gives great adjustability here in terms of the adjustment angle on it, okay? So, so overall, this is a very flexible one. The fact that it can support such large TVs, 55-inch would be quite a large TV to be mounting on a wall, something like this. But it sits very nicely with our overall range of TV brackets, which include ones for mounting from the ceiling, very low profile ones for hanging on the wall, etc. So that's it, an overview of the TV wall mounting bracket that supports TVs from 23 all the way up to 55 inches.